Hello, it's me, Kyle. Welcome to Give Pause Hobby, the channel where I stop to appreciate the things I love to fill my free time with. So this is me at the end of the Robo Rumble match that culminated, or the end of ROOTbot madness that culminated in a Robo Rumble match. It is behind me. There is the remainder of the board. I'm not going to clean it up tonight. I don't want to because I'm a little bit bummed. For those of you who were checking out the stream, or for those of you who are planning on looking at it afterwards, unfortunately, after botching the start and finally figuring out how to make a link to a stream that you will be having, I immediately messed up the stream. And once you stop one, you can't go back to that link. So I made a new one, got that going, got the game going, and then about an hour, 40 minutes into it, it just stopped for some reason, just disconnected, and I don't know why. So I finished out the game just myself and deleted the thing because there's no sense in putting up 4/5 of the game because that would be just tantalizing and awful. But it was a really fun game. I am genuinely bummed that this isn't out there as a Robo Rumble for people to consume, especially at the end of the month, of people voting on what the factions would look like, what traits they all had. Had 9 of them, 2 Vagabots, and then the other ones that are available, and then going through the brackets to see who is going to actually be part of the game. So in turn order, it was the Crows, Vagabot, the Otters, and the Moles, which Lenore, Gigawatt, Roboter, and Molly, the names. And it was a super good game, really close at the end. Honestly, some really interesting stuff was going to happen if I had let it go any longer, but the Moles just tipped over into 30 points at the end of their turn. I think that was seven rounds of the game. So yeah, it was a really fun match. The fairy got used once. I thought it was doomed to just stay in the corner with just otters hanging out down there, and they never moved, so they never had a use for it. But it got used once by the Vagabot. Also, Gigawatt, I fudged it a little bit. He had 2 things he could have gone to, and I chose this one even though he should have went to the other one, because this one allowed him to proc his special and blow up the space, everything in it, as well as put an item down on the building space, meaning nobody can build there anymore. So that was cool to see. But honestly, like the MVP of the map was having the Lost City on there is bananas. Now this is like super beta, just, you know, a fan put together rules for the landmarks, and on one hand it's super easy, it's just all 3 suits. That part makes sense. But then the other part is that because it's so attractive for, you know, flexibility reasons, the way that they translated that into ROOTbot thinking was it would count as highest or lowest priority, whichever one they were looking for. So it just meant that, but I mean, honestly, the amount of bird cards I was getting and the amount of, you know, people who could just like drop enemies anywhere, because the dig action of the Moles, the Crows can just go anywhere, but then also the garrison action with the trade post. So 3 of the 4 factions could just drop people anywhere, which meant the Lost City was just like constantly getting use. So it was never a quiet place to be, and it was super fun. There was an amazing, should have taken pictures, I assumed there'd be video, but there was an amazing turn. The Crows have this nasty ability where if they don't have any more warriors they can put on the board, they just get to the plot thickens, like boom, right there, like midstream. And that's crucial because when they recruit, that is before flipping the plots. So they get to place a plot down that immediately flips. and they already had 2 that weren't taken out. So that was the 3rd one that turned, and then there was 1 already on the board. So they got 2, then 3, then 4. So 9 points of flipping, and then some points for blowing up stuff with a bomb. And yeah, it was glorious. They took the early lead, but then they sort of stalled out. And then at the very end, they started to come back. Hello, it's past Kyle, but from the future ahead of further past Kyle. I was editing and I realized I never talked about a couple of things, kind of important deals here. I put in all the data into my root lists, and I'm coming up. I'm at 57 games. It was low compared to people who are like on the Root Digital app a bunch, which I would love to get into. I just like really struggle playing Root, not physical. Even TTS is a bit of a struggle for me, and the app just feels even weirder. But that's a struggle I'm hoping to overcome. But anyways, a couple of things that I just wanted to point out thanks to this game, because at the end of my 57th game, I'm showing you right now, there's this downward trend of some factions and a little bit of a rebound for some other ones. The moles are still my absolute favorite faction to pilot, because I think it's just really interesting how they can grow. They can respond to how the game's going in a sort of way. But importantly, in 9 games with the moles in them, this is the first time that they've taken a W. And so that was really cool to see. Otters went up just a little bit more. I really enjoy having them. It's a lot more to think about, and I'm sure I miss things whenever I play with them, but I really do enjoy having the otters in there. Vagabond fell just a little bit. Seemed like was just kind of lagging behind this time, and needed a little bit of extra help. That one term I sort of fudged it a little bit so he could do his big special, but yeah, is what it is. Lizards are kind of back to the middle. They're up towards the top, down to last, and then now they're up to a solid fifth of 8. Birds are still at 6th, right behind them, but crows, which started up higher and sort of made their way down, they had a really great game. They had, you know, that kind of like surge into first place, and then the table sort of shut them down. But they have overtaken cats for the first time ever, and cats are for the first time ever at the bottom of the list, because as much as for a while I was recognizing it was mostly nostalgia why the cats were there, because that's like the faction. If you're gonna have a bot faction, that's typically the one you're gonna have. But yeah, played 32 games with the Mechanical Marquise 2.0 in them. They won 4 of those, so that's a solid 1/8 of the games. But there's just so many ways that they can get kind of hamstrung in the games, I find. And obviously the crows had a tough go in the like 2nd act, but then finished pretty strong even still. And again, it was just more engaging. There's just more going on with them on the board than typically what I'm used to seeing with the cats. So yeah, it was I'm coming up. There's obviously 3 more games before 60. So this may not be the final ranking at this point. If you're wondering, the yellow bolded ones are ones that have changed since the last time. And I was doing every 5 from 30 up to 50, and now I decided to do every 10. So there's a little bit more time in between the tea and pancakes episodes. I'll put a link up here to the previous one if you want to see my thoughts about all the different maps, landmarks, and everything in between. But for right now, I just want to say this game partially shook some stuff up, and that's always a good thing to see, because that means it is still getting the juices flowing and cranking the gears, and I had a blast, even if we didn't actually get to, you know, show that off on the channel. Hopefully next time. But anyways, back to you further in the past, Kyle. Bye. But yeah, it was super fun game. As Pink Floyd said, wish you were here to see it. Maybe one day when I have more of a set space, that I can make sure I have the equipment and the know-how. Streaming could be a thing that I do, but for the time being, it seems like recording and editing thing is still my bag. So anyways, thank you again for anyone who participated in ROOTbot Madness with any of the votes, any of the name recommendations, who tried, who did watch. I did have just a little bit of traction on the stream, so that was really fun. Thank you for checking in. And to anyone who was hoping to watch it afterwards, I'm really sorry. Genuinely, I am. Maybe I will get another Robo Rumble in the works and do it my way, record it, so I can make sure it actually gets out there. So without any further ado, I'm just going to leave this here and clean it up later because it's almost 11 and I don't want to do it. I'll do it later. So thanks for taking a pause and give pause, and we'll see you all next time.